I'm in one of the most beautiful and most colorful cities in the world. Although the entire city was almost completely destroyed during World War II, it has been completely rebuilt, and today it has still managed to maintain its Renaissance and medieval charm. This is Gdansk! Known to most foreigners by its German name Danzig, Poland's sixth largest city sits on the Baltic Sea. My journey will focus around the tri-cities of Gdansk, Gdynia and Sopot. I'll start my journey in Gdansk, then visit the neighboring city of Sopot before traveling north to the port city of Gdynia. I'll then take a day trip to Malbork Castle and return to Gdansk in time to catch the start of St. Dominic's Fair. I'll end my journey with a cruise down the Motlawa River. This is Gdansk, the sixth largest city in Poland. Once known as the Queen of the Baltic Sea, the city was founded in the 10th century and first mentioned in the year 997. And in 1361, it became a member of the Hanseatic League. And throughout history, Gdansk has been occupied by the Poles, Prussians, Germans, and the Russians, and twice it was even a free city. It's where World War II and the fight against communism began. I like it already. Gdansk just happens to be my favorite city, and this is actually my fourth trip here, and each time I visit, I am intrigued by it. You can say that Gdansk is sort of a hidden gem. It's one of those must-see destinations that's never advertised by any major tour agency or travel show, which is a shame because there is more to see in Gdansk than in most other major world cities. More than 1 million tourists make their way to Gdansk each summer, drawn in by its beautiful beaches, Renaissance charm, stunning architecture, and ornate street performers. This area is known as the main city, not to be confused with the old town, which is further up that way, and it's actually been completely rebuilt because sadly during World War II, 90% of the city was destroyed like most other major European cities, but they were able to rebuild the entire city based on old paintings, photographs, and engravings, and they were able to restore it to its original look. So today the city looks almost the same as it did before the war. Now, despite being completely rebuilt after the war, Gdansk has managed to maintain its Renaissance charm, and today is considered to be one of the most beautiful and most colorful cities in the world. Behind me is the Great Armory. It was built between the years 1602 and 1609 by the Dutch architect Anton van Ughagen, and he designed a lot of the buildings here in Gdansk, and this is an excellent example of Dutch mannerism architecture. That building right there is the Ughagen house. It's a really unique building because it's one of the only few 18th century merchant homes in Europe that's open to visitors, and the only such house in Poland. It was purchased by the wealthy merchant Johann Ughagen in 1775, but he actually had the entire house completely demolished and rebuilt from scratch the way he wanted it to look, and in 1787 his wishes and demands were fulfilled, and the house was complete, and he lived in it till his death in 1802. And before he died, he decided to pass the house on to his family members, but with the obligation that they wouldn't change anything, that they would keep it exactly the way it is. And throughout the 19th century, it stayed within the same family, which was really rare at that time. In 1944, during World War II, German conservators actually removed all the interior furniture from the house. So all the originals are gone. Inside the Ughagen house. Right here we have a beautiful stove. Oh, nice king.
Cały plecak będzie cały czas na pierwszym planie.
This is the third room. I love how they designed all the rooms with different things and gave them a specific name. Johann Ughagen was not only a wealthy merchant, he was also a town councilor and a bibliophile, a book collector, and he collected more than 14,000 books, mostly about humanities, reflecting the trend of the Enlightenment. And this is the kitchen right here.
Ale filmować nie może.
Now this street we're walking on right now is the most famous and most beautiful street in Gdansk, and it's called Dlugi Targ, which means the long market. Behind me is Artus Court, formerly known as the Royal Court of Artus. It's basically the place where Gdansk royalty came to hang out, and the original building was built between 1348 and 1350, but that one was actually destroyed in a fire in 1477, and then it was later rebuilt in 1481, and also those facades, they were actually redid the facades twice, once in the 1500s and another time in the 1600s. We're inside the artist court, and the interior of artist court is said to be one of the most beautiful interiors in Gdansk, and they have beautiful carvings and paintings like that carving up there, so definitely worth checking out. As I said earlier, this was a place where Gdansk royalty came to hang out. They would have their meetings here, and they were actually part of a group that was similar to the Knights of the Round Table. This is where they would meet. Behind we have what you can call sort of an ancient light bulb. What they would do, they would have a gold lens right there. They would light a candle in front and it would reflect off the gold, creating more light. So that was a really efficient way to make light. This is the Knight's Hall, and remember that round table I mentioned earlier? This is it right here. In fact, it's an exact replica of King Arthur's round table, and right here we have the names of everyone who sat at it. Behind me is the Ratusz, which is Polish for town hall. It's the Gdansk town hall. It's one of the most famous and most beautiful buildings in the city. But the exact date of construction is actually unknown, but it is believed that it was built sometime in the early 1300s. Now the city hall is actually believed, when it was originally built, that it was only one story high, and then throughout the next century it was extended, giving it today's look. This is the white chamber where the municipal court would meet. This room is also known as the portrait hall because all around us are portraits of different Polish kings. This is the red room. It's the most beautiful room in the city hall. And we can climb to the top of the town hall's 160-foot high tower to get a really great view of the city, and that's what we're doing right now. There are about 100 steps. Well, this is beautiful. You can see the entire main city from here. This is the Church of St. Peter and Paul, the Monastery of St. Peter and Paul to be more specific. It's one of the most beautiful churches in the city, and it was built between 1393 and 1516, and it originally started out as a Catholic church, then in the 16th century was taken over by the Lutherans and then the Calvinists, which it served up until almost the end of World War II. Behind me is the Church of the Holy Trinity. It's a 15th century Franciscan monastery, and it's one of the best preserved buildings in the city. And it's also one of the most unique as well because of the style of a Russian Orthodox facade we see up here.